What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take NFL DFS Wise Stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. Joined once again by the GOAT, the true OG that y'all know is Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie with 8 D's. And we're here to talk about Thursday Night Football, Broncos at Jets. Paulie, what's happening?
What's up, man? Too bad it's not a little bit of a better game. This might be the nut low. I mean, actually, if the Jets playing the Giants, that'd be the nut low. But
Yeah,
this is close.
pretty close. Yeah, pretty close. Gotta love the NFL scheduling for hooking it up with these Thursday games. What we have since we have last week Dolphins Jacksonville. It's just it's been delightful. But I guess kind of fitting for this week, judging by how the debate went. I don't know if you saw the debate, but I'm sure you at least heard about it. And it was just a train wreck. So it's fitting that we would have another, train wreck type matchup. And the Broncos and my beloved New York Jets. Rumor has it, by the way, Paulie, I don't believe this at all, but rumor has it, if the Jets lose to the Broncos, Gase is getting fired. That's what people are saying. That's what people are saying. I
gotta say, I would expect the Jets to fully lay down because I just from what I see, they do not want to play for him, and if they can get him out of there, I think that they will try to.
Doesn't it seem with the Jets like everybody seems to think they know what's going on, but they all have different ideas of what's going on? Right? It seems like Gase is just not a good communicator. Like, he doesn't really keep contact with his players. And if that's the case, it's hard to imagine him actually developing relationships with players. If guys don't even know, even little things like when a player, I think McDougal or whatever his name is, he said, "Oh, I don't feel like we've had a full week of practice," and Gase is kind of taken back by that. Like, what? Really? You never. I would have thought we would have talked about that internally. Well, maybe listen. Maybe fucking listen. You know what I mean? Listen to your players a little bit. But anyway, this is not a smear Adam Gase show. That's my personal life. That's what I do. That's more of a hobby for me. We are here to break down a game. And break down a game, Paulie, that is what we will do. It's not exciting. We have a 41 total, but it is up from 40. Holla. The Jets opened up as 2.5-point underdogs. At home, they are now 2-point favorites. I'm assuming that has something to do with the quarterback change. That's the only thing I can think of. Although Crowder coming back may be that big a deal, because that's how bad the Jets have looked. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's how bad they've looked. It's pretty awful. In terms of injuries, I mentioned Crowder is expected to play. He's questionable. He says that he thinks he's going to play. Philip Lindsay is a true game time decision. Drew Lock obviously is out. And we did hear that they're going to start, say his name, Paulie. I can't fucking remember his name.
Jeez. Brett Rippon.
Yes. Thank you.
Nephew of Super Bowl winner Mark Rippon.
Holla at your boy. Rashad Perriman out. Chris Hogan actually questionable. I'd be surprised if he didn't play, but he's actually questionable as well. And that's about it on the position players anyway, as far as injuries go. With that said, Paulie, we're going to start off with the Broncos side. We'll go team by team and then kind of piece it all together. I'm going to pull up the showdown projections, which will be up at wisestake.com. Thursday morning, I'll probably post them if you're a member of the Wise Take Nation and you want to check out our projections, which you see on the screen. This is not what they look like. This is a visual I create for the show specifically. But you can download the projections, upload them in an optimizer that you choose, and do dirties that way, Wise Take Nation style. Paulie, talk to me about the Broncos.
All right. I think this is a spot where they could move the ball a little bit on offense. It's hard to get a read on what the Jets are. They basically threw 2 pick sixes and had a couple fumbles. The Colts didn't have to do much offensively. So it's hard to really get a read on where they're weak, where they're strong. The week before that, Raheem Mostert took an 80-yard handoff to the house, and then didn't really do very much after that. You know, it was a bunch of like jet mistakes that put the 49ers in good field position. They didn't really accrue a whole ton of, yards. You know, it's like the Jets are giving the opponents the games. And Sam Darnold, he made like one phenomenal play last week, escaping the blitz. He should have got sacked. And, like, you see like a glimpse, you're like, man, it could be good. And then, he throws a pick six like 2 plays later, and, he's constantly on the run. So, I do think that, like, this guy, Mark Rippon, can throw the ball. I do think that the Broncos do have some, playmakers, young and inexperienced, but they do have some talented playmakers on the offensive side that, could be looking at this as an opportunity to showcase some talent. And, I like their offensive players a lot more than the Jet guys. So, um, we'll have to see what Philip Lindsay's status is. But, prior to his injury, they were basically in a 50-50 split. Melvin Gordon did well in week one after Lindsay went out with that injury. And he's been, all right. Since then, they've had a couple tough matchups. Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay. This is going to be their first solid matchup where they should be able to move the ball. But I'm more into the pass game. Like, if Lindsey plays, I'd prefer him over Gordon for the savings, for the contrarianism, and because he'll probably be more involved in the pass game. And then, Jerry Jeudy, I do believe is very talented, and maybe Rippon's the kind of guy who can get him the ball. I think KJ Hamler, people are going to probably forget about, and he's definitely an option. And I love Noah Fant. I think he's probably going to be one of my highest owned captains this week.
Yeah, starting, we'll talk about the Jets next, but I'm with you on the pass game for both sides, really. Interestingly enough, you mentioned against the 49ers, and you and I talked about this last week, against the 40 when we were discussing why we were going underweight on Taylor. And regardless of whether that worked or shouldn't have worked or whatever, obviously, like you said, the game got out of hand early. The Colts defense kind of, turned into a blowout, so that's a different argument. Regardless, even when you look at DVOA metrics, if you look at DVP, which is usually calculated by how many fantasy points a team has given up at the position, the Jets are going to look like they're really bad against the run. But if you actually look at DVOA, which is what we like to rely on, the Jets are actually third in DVOA. 31st against the pass, third in DVOA. And that's kind of been the Jets' MO. That's kind of been Greg Williams' thing also, is they don't want to let teams run on them. Obviously, when your offense is inept and constantly put your defense in bad position, bad field position, then shit's going to happen, and eventually guys are going to squeak in. So I'm not saying that Melvin Gordon shouldn't be rostered at all, or even if Philip Lindsay does come back, he shouldn't be rostered. But I am a little more interested in the pass game, like you said, Paulie. I think that Rippon is certainly viable for the simple fact that you have to play somebody. I mean, you got to play someone, and it's hard to imagine their points not have something to do with it. So I'm with you. I think Jeudy is an interesting play. Noah Fant makes a ton of sense, especially paired with Brett.
Rippon.
Yeah. Oh, that was dope, right? Brett straight Rippon. But I'm with you. I'm leaning more towards them. KJ Hamler 4,800, Tim Patrick 5K, and like a build where you're trying to stack Denver completely. Because I mean, I think this game kind of goes back and forth. I think both these teams are pretty bad, and the Jets are at least home, right? Broncos playing with a backup quarterback, so I feel like the game should be in a shit fest way, somewhat competitive for these two teams, right? And I think that there's going to be a lot of plays because I think the teams are going to throw a lot. Any interest in well, actually, we'll talk about that at the end. Let's go to the Jets side of the ball. What are you looking at from the Jets?
Hey, the same thing, like it's both pass games, like Denver did get run on by Pittsburgh and, a bit by Tennessee. They just didn't give up the touchdown in week one. But last week against Tampa, I mean, they basically shut the run game down. And similar to the Jets, turnovers and, sacks kind of put Tampa in good field position, and Tom Brady did what he does, and didn't turn the ball over, was accurate, and you know, his team protects the quarterback, so he, didn't have to make any risky plays, and then, you know, they were able to move the ball, but it really wasn't on the ground. It was mostly through the air. So, I do agree. I think if we're looking at the offensive players, and this is certainly a slate where you can look at defenses and kickers and stuff like that, mix them into your build. Um, but I think we're looking at the pass games, like you said. So on the Jets, if we get Crowder back, it's certainly him. Um, I think you go to Chris Herndon, and you know, I was impressed with Braxton Berrios. I don't know if it's just like they had no other options, but he kind of reminded me of like a young Julian Edelman or Wayne Grebeck kind of receiver, and I would prefer him over like the Chris Hogans and Josh Malones of the world, and I don't even know who that guy was that caught a couple passes. What was his name? Like Cager or something like that for the Jets last week. So no chance of Denzel Mims playing, right?
I think he's an IR still.
Okay. Yeah, so it'd be Crowder, Berrios, and Herndon for me. And they did seem to want to pass the Ballage a bunch last week. So he'd be the running back that I'd be looking at.
That's the difficult part about the run game for the Jets is without Bell, you've got Gore, obviously, you've got Ballage, and from what I understand, I think Pirine also, who's their rookie, and going into the season, he was kind of expected to get some work, to be sprinkled in amongst Gore and Bell. I don't like playing that game. If you're doing MME, obviously you can work in those guys. But I'm with you on the pass game. I think Crowder's probably my favorite captain. We've seen slot receivers just completely tear Denver up. Well, I mean, honestly, we've seen every kind of receiver tear Denver up. Their defense is just completely shot, man. Von Miller, AJ Boye, Tremont Jones, DeMarcus Walker, Mark Barron, all on IR. All on IR. They got no one left. So, on the one hand, looking at Darnold, you feel weird paying this kind of price. It's a one-game slate, so you have no choice, right? You got to spend the money on someone. And I think I do want to spend it on Darnold and pair him with a Crowder, pair him with maybe even, dare I say, Chris Hogan. Chris Hogan is questionable, but Chris Hogan is 3,200, and he's the starting wideout right now with Brashad Perriman out. And this is a Denver team that has allowed outside receivers to kind of do work to him. Even that kid from Tampa Bay last week, I think he only had 3 actual catches, but he had 80-something yards. Was it Miller, I think? Scotty Miller, maybe?
Scotty Miller, yeah. He was running in the slot for Godwin.
Okay.
Yeah. After Godwin got hurt or Godwin missed that game.
That would make sense. We also saw Deontay Johnson light these guys up. Chase Claypool, even Corey Davis. I think this was Corey Davis's big game, the game of his life.
Yep.
So I have interest in Hogan at 3,200. I don't feel good about it, but do you feel good about anything here? No, you're not going to. This is just.
I mean, we didn't last week either.
Yeah.
But, we saw those teams put up points.
The
ball.
That's fucking right. So I'm with you. I'm on the pass game. Braxton Berrios, I'm a little nervous about with Crowder back, just because Berrios was playing the slot for Crowder. So I'm sure they'll keep him involved, just because you don't have a ton of options. So I'm sure he'll be involved in some capacity. But I do think Crowder is going to be the main guy. He projects the best for us overall on the slate in terms of raw points. Obviously, we know that raw points matter, and he's only 8,200, which I thought was strange considering the amount of usage he's been getting in games he's played. Not just this year, but last year as well, man. This guy gets double-digit targets by Sam Darnold usually. I was surprised to see his price so low. But I guess, it is what it is. He hasn't played much this year. Only played 1 game so far. So I do like both passing offenses. Now let's talk about the defenses, though, because these are obviously 2 quarterbacks that can definitely make mistakes. Not a ton of weapons that they're throwing to. Not a ton of great offensive lines in this game. Right? Not a ton of great defensive line either, but hey, just saying, what's your interest level on the defenses?
So I think it's like a correlation thing, and this may sound like strange, but like I like the idea of like 5-1 lineups. Five Jets, one Bronco, and if you're doing a Jet 5-man, then you include the defense because that the story your lineup is telling is like, all right, the Jets got out ahead, and the Broncos made mistakes, and maybe their defense capitalized. You know what I'm saying? Like more passing from the Broncos because they're trying to come from behind, the rookie quarterback, maybe a couple pick sixes, those kind of situations. So it's like they're in play, but not a ton in my opinion. But more so as like a correlation for like onslaught type approaches, or you take the complete opposite route. If you want to have some hedging against some of these like attacking the pass games, and you build the defenses with like um, your Frank Gores, do double defense, look for like a really sloppy, low scoring game. So, I'm not a huge fan of the defenses, but in Showdown, I'm a huge fan in correlation. So it's like, playing both defenses and building lineups that tell the story of a really sloppy, low scoring game, or building the onslaught 5-1 type builds and building, the story of either team kind of dominating and pairing that defense with that team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think if I had to pick one, I guess the Jets being at 4K, I would lean towards them a little bit, especially because in this kid's first appearance we saw last week, granted, it was against a good defense against Tampa, but he did have a fumble and an interception, so there is potential that he's got a turnover issue. With that said, Darnold's got a pretty bad turnover issue himself. It's strange, man. It's like we like the passing game, but I find myself also like feeling like one of these defenses have to smash because there's gonna be mistakes made. So I agree. I kind of like that idea of the correlation with the onslaught approach. I could see a scenario where if you're doing like a 5 Denver or whatever it is, max out Denver, bring it back with just Crowder, or something like that. I can totally see a scenario like that, or other way around too with Jets. It's harder to envision it with Jets players because I don't know if you could come up with 5 Jets players that you would want. Like the kicker's definitely involved in that, I think. But yeah, I do think that it should be an interesting showdown slate. Again, these teams are fairly evenly matched. They both kind of suck, but it could make for interesting TV. It depends. Do you like watching train wrecks? It's just, it depends on the person you are. But I like it.
As I look through these game logs, it looks like the Jets are going to be, or are currently, awful against the tight end.
Yes. Phenomenal spot for a fan, yeah.
Yeah, they got smoked by Jordan Reed, who's like 100 years old. They got smoked by Mo Ali Cox. Yeah. Noah Fant, and I went to Jake Good and Crowder. Like I may just lock those two in as my captains tomorrow and go to war that way.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think they're the main two plays. With that said, I mean, I was gonna do the top 3 captain, but I guess pick a third because I agree with you. For me, it's easily those two. So, who would be your third captain option?
If Philip Lindsay plays, it would be him. If he's out, then I guess it'd be Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, I think it has to be Melvin Gordon. I mean, he's just assuming Lindsay is out after those two.
Right. Lindsay is expected to play.
Okay.
Though, by the way.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That is good to know.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that's gonna do it. Don't forget to check out our Twitter at @wise_take. Currently running a little Twitter campaign promotion. Just got to go over, find the pinned tweet, which is promoting our Week 4 first look for the main slate. Retweet, like, follow Wise Take on Twitter. That's all you got to do. You'll be entered for a chance to win $50, and we'll have a live drawing for it on Saturday, as we did last week. Gave away $20 last week, giving away $50 this week. Holla at your boy. Make sure you get over there. Tell your friends, anybody you give a shit about. Go let them know. They have a shot at winning free money. Hit that like button if you can, nation. We recorded this Wednesday night, so most of you are going to be watching this Thursday, the day of. Paulie, anything in closing before we get up out of here?
Nah, man. Dude, this is ugliness. Hopefully we get some better Thursday night games. But this weekend, the slate is pretty damn wild already, and it's only Wednesday
I
night.
know, and we're losing games. Shit.
Yeah,
it's gonna be wild.
I like that.
Oh, which reminds me, make sure you guys tune in for the Friday night Y stream. You'll need to. By that point, we should have a better picture of what's going on. But this is a slate where like literally every day we're finding out new information. Things are changing. So make sure you catch the NFL Y stream. Myself, Paulie D. No Patio Joe this week as he is off in fuckery land doing what Patio Joe does when he doesn't do shows. For Paulie D, for myself, the entire Y Nation, as always, good luck.